this. They don't think we can keep making hits about cameras. But I'm the cameraman. But I'm the cameraman. Stay creamy. Yeah.
The first camera from OMDS is here. It's the Olympus Pen EP7. And this is my first impression video of this camera. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And let's start with the disclaimer. This camera is not mine. It was sent to me by OMDS North, I think is the organization named now. And I will return the camera after I've made this review and the camera is public. Let's start with the look and feel. And as you can see, the camera is gorgeous. The only small thing is that the feel of the camera is not exactly the same as it looks, because it's made out of same material as EM5 Mark III, and I remember that material getting some beef, or Olympus getting some beef because of they used that material. I personally do not mind the material. I think it's totally fine. It makes the camera really light, but of course it doesn't feel the same as a full metal body. And as you see, it has Olympus brand on the body, which is a good thing. Well, what about the usability? And this camera has one big difference from the predecessor EPL10. And why is this called 7? I will tell you a bit later why that is. It has 2 dials on the back, which is really crucial because you can set the exposure compensation to the back wheel. And that's really big thing because I'm so used to having exposure compensation on the back wheel that I cannot photograph without it, because that's the way I do it. Do you have any features that are really crucial, or buttons and dials that are really crucial for you? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, one thing I would love to have in this camera is an EVF. The only way to make the composition and photograph is the back LCD, and for me also a EVF is very crucial. If I could choose the back wheel or EVF, I would take the back wheel first, but then I also need the EVF because I'm so used to having the camera on my eye when I photograph. Not having it makes the photographing a bit harder because it's been really clear and sunny weather here in Helsinki lately, and in very bright conditions it's really hard to see from the LCD on the back. And that's why I think an EVF should be in every camera. But I understand pen cameras are the ones that don't have the EVF, even though what they should have is a accessory that could fit as a, like they used to have an accessory EVF that could be put on the camera, but they don't have it anymore because they took out the port that was used for that. And I think that was a bad decision. It would be great to have a additional EVF that you could buy separately if you really need it, because, this camera would be totally perfect with that. And then there is also a flash, which a small button on the back, and then you press it. And of course, a flash like this, as you can see, might not be the best one for lighting up because a small straight light is not the best. But what you can do is to turn this like this, and you can bounce it from something. Of course, if the ceiling is very high, it's not that powerful, but it's better than shooting straight. And then you just press it down, and that's it. What about the customizability of this camera? There are 2 customizable buttons. One on the top, the rec button, and then you have the AEL, AFL button on the back, which is customizable. And then there is a very interesting button at the front. You have the color mono switch here in the front of the camera, and I will talk about that a bit later because that's the most interesting dial or button that there is in this EP7 camera. Why is this camera number 7? Because the predecessor from pen cameras was 10. Well, the thing is that this is a EP, not EPL camera. And the difference is from EP to EPL is that EP cameras have 2 dials on the top. Pen cameras have only 1, and that's why pen PL cameras have only 1. That's why I haven't really been that much keen on using them. But this is, of course, a bit different. This is more usable in that sense. Why isn't it called 6? Because the 5 was the previous EP camera. Well, maybe because it's a long time. The EP5 was launched in 2013, so they kind of skipped the 6, and now new company made it number 7. But who cares actually what it is, what it's called? The only thing that matters, how it performs.
You know I'm gonna take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. You know I'm gonna take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. Pull up and take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. You know I'm gon' take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. I develop film, not feelings. Ooh, I develop film, not feelings. Ooh, I develop film, not feelings. Ooh, I develop film, not feelings.
Well, as you saw from the images, and I hope you enjoyed them, that I really like to use the switch here in the front, color mono switch. And you have 4 presets for each, mono and color, and you can tweak them to your likings. And this is something that Pen F had, so I'm really glad they had on this. And this kind of makes this camera as a kind of like a light Pen F or mini Pen F in that sense. And otherwise the camera is a lot like the EM10 Mark IV. So it's kind of like a mashup between Pen F and EM10 Mark IV. And we haven't looked the main specs yet. Here you can see the main specs. So why was this camera made? Well, of course, OMDS had to come up with some new camera, and I think they started very well making a Olympus Pen or mini Pen F that I would call this. And I think it's a good start because they made some good improvements on this one, like the color mono switch, which I really like. You probably have figured that out already. And a lot of us, of course, waited that it could be the Olympus Pen F Mark II. And this is just like, you know, almost like it, but not quite because it doesn't have the viewfinder. Adding a viewfinder to this could make this a Pen F Mark II, but it's not. And then, okay, what did I like about this camera? And actually, I liked it a lot. The only problem is that it doesn't have the EVF. And I really like that because, as I said earlier, it's been really sunny weather here in Helsinki for a change. And the viewfinder is really crucial when it's really bright weather. Using the LCD is really hard. It's really hard to see from that LCD, and that's a big problem when it's really sunny. Otherwise, it's okay because you can fold it like this, and then it also turns under here for selfies, and which is okay. Of course, it's a bit harder to have it on a tripod if you have it like this, but actually I do have a video about how to attach it to here, and I will link to that video over there, so you can watch it from there. But all in all, I think they made a good thing. Maybe the material could have been more premium feel with full metal. That could have been probably the thing. And do I want one? Not really sure. I might, but I'm not really sure yet if I want because of the lack of EVF. But if that's not a problem for you, then just go ahead. No problem with that, getting this camera. The image quality is totally fine. So there's nothing wrong with that. And as I said many times, I like the switch, color mono switch in the front. It makes the camera a bit more premium and more fun. And also one good thing about it is that it's another camera that you can actually use only JPEG if you want. It's like Pen F in that sense. And because usually you need to tweak a bit the things when you're shooting or making some image editing. But on this one, actually you don't need to do that if you use the color and mono presets. But this wasn't the only product that Olympus launched today, or OMDS launched today. The other one is 8 to 25mm f4 Pro zoom lens, and I have a video about that too, so you might want to watch it from there. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.